Welcome to Lighting for Profits.
All right.
Powered by Emery Allen.
Get rid of your excuses.
Your number one source for all things landscape lighting.
That's where the magic can happen. You can really scale a business.
We really had to show up for each other.
From lighting design, install, sales, and marketing.
You're a scaredy cat salesman, Kurt.
We discuss everything you need to know to start and grow a successful landscape lighting business.
What do you think a hippo has to do with your business, Ryan?
Usually it's some weird childhood thing. Some bully kicks your butt.
I think the key factor here is trust.
Here is your host, Ryan Lee.
All right. Welcome to the number one landscape lighting show in Nashville, Tennessee. That's right. We've got a great show lined up. It's Lighting for Profits, powered by Emery Allen. Thank you, Emery Allen, for your support here in Lehi, Utah, the Landscape Lighting Secret Studio. Hope you're having a great day. Got an awesome show lined up for you. If you're in the landscape lighting business, then you're definitely in the right place. We're trying to help you get motivated. We're trying to help you get educated so that you can start to dominate your area. So, guys, got a really cool show lined up. Today, we've got the one and only Mr. Mike Dahlke. And Mike is someone who I met going on a couple of years now. He's involved in a lot. I'm like, how do I introduce Mike? Because he's just a badass entrepreneur. And he's with Red Hook Investments. But that's just one thing. So I was like, how do I introduce him? Because he's a really, really cool guy, down to earth, but also super successful. One of those guys that, they say you want to be the average of the 5 people that you surround yourselves with, or that's just kind of what happens. He would be one that you would, want in your inner circle. So really, really excited about today's show to have him on. So stick around. We're going to have a good conversation about entrepreneurship, some of the challenges that he's faced over his career so far, and some of the things that he's working on. What up? Thanks for being here. Light it up. Really excited for today's show. As a reminder, I will not get mad at you if you go give me a 5-star review on Apple. I mean, I'll even take one on Spotify, but I've noticed that on Spotify, they don't let you write out nice words. So if you are on Apple, go give me a 5-star review and say some nice things. And thank you to those that have done that so far. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. A couple of announcements before we get underway. I think it's next week. September 12th and 13th. Is that next week? That's next week. I'm going to be in Tampa, Florida, the Garden Light LED Dealer Congress. I don't even know if they have spots yet, but just go to gardenlightled.com. They still might have some spots. I don't even know, but I'm going to be there. Jan Moyer is going to be there. Brandon Miles, we're going to put on. It's an awesome event. Actually, I'm not putting it on. What's nice about this one is they're putting it on. I just have to show up and speak a couple times, and it's going to be a lot of fun because I get to hang out. Normally, I'm all stressed and have to do all the things and everything, but I get to hang out. So if you want to do that, come see me next week in Tampa, Garden Light LED. And the week after that, we're going to be in Nashville for our first ever. It's a members-only event. It's called Secret Summit. So if you've been on the fence about joining Landscape Lighting Secrets, what are you waiting for? Just hit me up and schedule an appointment. We can get you in. We can still get you in that event, but you do have to be a member. It's a members-only event, and it's going to be spectacular. So that's coming up in 2 weeks, September 20th and 21st in Nashville, Tennessee. I want to thank Emery Allen for their support. Thank you, Emery Allen. You guys are pretty awesome. You guys know this. Nothing hurts a quality landscape lighting install quite like flickering bulbs, a yellow fringe around the perimeter of the beam spread, or bulbs that burn out after a few on and off cycles. It's annoying, right? So don't jeopardize your customer's experience by using a budget bulb. If you want to go out of your way to provide a world-class customer experience, choose Emery Allen. At the end of the day, it's what's on the inside that counts, okay? So take advantage of Emery Allen's world-class customer service. Get 10% off your first order for new clients. All you got to do is email tomg@emeryallen.com, and he'll get your contractor account set up. Don't waste your time going to their website, guys, because we've hooked you up here at Lighting for Profits. All you got to do is email tomg@emeryallen.com. He'll get your contractor pricing set up, which is way less than you're going to get online, okay? Just mention Lighting for Profits, mention Ryan Lee. I don't care. Just let him know how you heard about, and he'll hook you up with that discounted contractor pricing. So tomg@emeryallen.com. All right, guys. So again, in just a couple minutes, we got Mike Dahlke coming on. Before we have him on, and again, you're going to want to pay attention because this guy's if you could Google entrepreneur and someone you want to be like when you grow up, this is one of those guys. I'm fortunate enough to be able to associate with him. I'm trying to be like best friends with him because I want him to be like one of my top 5, right? Because he's gonna elevate this group. He's gonna elevate this podcast today. So stick around. But before we have him come on, I want to talk about something real quick. A couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to speak at the Huge convention in Nashville. And this was my 3rd time attending the Huge, but it was the first time that I actually got to speak there. And I was so excited because you actually have to apply to speak. And oh, hey, we got some comments here. What's up, Nashville? What's up, Greg? Thanks. Yeah, you guys like this new shirt? My Lindsay told me today, she's like, I've never seen you wear a white shirt. And then my son Max just got home from school and he walked by and he's like, I've never seen you in a white shirt. You always wear gray. So trying to mix it up a little bit. But anyway, a couple weeks ago, I got to speak at the Huge convention. I had to apply and I got accepted, right? And I was so excited because, it's my 3rd year going and I was like, this is so cool. And then I got to be honest, because I found out my speaking spot and it was on the 2nd day, which was the last day, and it was in the afternoon, right? And I was like, oh man. And then I look and there's like 4 or 5 people speaking at the same time. And like the other 4 or 5 people were like, awesome. I'm like, damn it, no one's going to come to my session. Like, how did I get this spot? They were amazing speakers. One of them was my good friend, Jim Dubois. He's the founder of Window Washing Wealth. I've thought about hiring him. I want to join his coaching program, even though I don't do window washing wealth. He's that good. He's just really good at teaching systems and all these different things. But he was speaking at the same time. I was like, man, I wanted to attend his session, but I was speaking, right? And so I felt really excited. But then, if I'm being honest, I felt kind of like, man, I feel like a C or a D player. Like I'm like a backup to the backup, right? And I'll tell you what, though, as soon as I started to feel like that, I was immediately filled with gratitude because of some of these new strategies that I've read about and I've been implementing in my life. And I had this memory of this study that was done about the Olympics. And the study basically said that, or it showed how bronze medalists were actually much happier than silver medalists in the Olympics. And you would think it would be like, well, gold is the happiest, then silver, then bronze, like, first, second, third. But that wasn't true. And it was based on a lot of different variables. But the thinking was that the bronze people were like stoked because if they didn't, if they did a little bit worse, they would have gotten 4th and they wouldn't have even gotten a medal. So they were just extremely grateful to be on the podium. Whereas second actually exhibited emotions of like anger, like not just less happy than gold, but like almost upset because, they weren't the best in the world, even though they were like the second in the entire world, they were still upset. Right. And, that's a little bit, I think that helped me because I was like, man, I'm just grateful to be on the podium. Like, I'm just grateful that I'm on like the speaking list, like not everyone got accepted. And so, I was really, really grateful for the opportunity. We had an excellent turnout. I don't know, I didn't count how many people, but there was an excellent turnout. People were like waiting in line afterward to come up and talk to me. It was just awesome. It was just such a cool experience. And the reason I share that with you is because you see, life is what we make of it, right? And so you can decide if you want to be upset because you got silver or bronze, or you can be excited that you got a medal, right? And you can be excited about how far you've come because look at how much you still have to accomplish, right? So if you're not winning right now, maybe that's like, well, I haven't won yet, but I still have a chance to win, right? And business isn't easy. If you've been in business longer than just a few weeks, you know what I'm talking about. It's very difficult. Just when you solve one thing, another thing happens. Just when you think you got it figured out, something else happens. And a key employee quits or something like that. But you're always having to be on your toes, right? So when really owning your business, as I think about it, it can be like the best thing in the world, or it can be the thing that breaks you apart. So I want you guys to make sure that you decide your attitude, right? Don't let life happen to you. Instead, let life happen for you. And it's crazy when you change these small, your thinking and how you speak and positive self-talk and like all these things. It's crazy how like the same experiences 2 people can interpret completely differently, right? I could have been all bummed out, like, oh yeah, there's 4 or 5 other people and they're more popular than me, and they're going to get more people and everything else, and I got the bad thing. Or I could just go deliver like crazy and move up in life, and that's what I did. So I just want to share that because I know that um, you know life is it's just really hard. It's not always easy. Business is not easy, and you get to choose your attitude. I see so many people having similar results, and some people are upset and some people are excited. So I just want to share that. And by the way, I spoke on pricing at the Huge, and I called it pricing for huge profits. Get it? So yeah, it actually went really good. I already had several people reach out after the fact, thanking me for my encouragement. They actually already raised their prices. They actually said I was able to legitimately like get more deals because of the stuff that you taught us from your little talk there. And so I just want to share that. I'm passionate about profitability because most of the time when I was running my lighting business, I couldn't figure out where all the money was. It's like, man, I'm working a lot and like I'm making, I was making decent amount of money this time, but there wasn't a lot left in the business. And it seemed so frustrating because I wanted to, give bigger raises. I wanted to hire more people. I wanted to do bigger things and it just wasn't there. And once I figured out this tiny adjustment, and really it had to do with pricing and sales and kind of these things combined, it made the world of difference. And I figured out where my numbers needed to be. And the real secret ingredient here, guys, is most of us are pricing based on who we are today because we're saying, well, I don't have the overhead of these big guys, so I can be more competitive, right? Well, do you want to be one of the big guys? If so, like you're going to have that overhead. You can't do this on your own. Okay. No one really wins on their own. There's always a team behind them, right? And so if you really want to win big, then it's going to cost you more money, right? And so put in your overhead what it's going to cost you to build your badass company, right? If you don't have the overhead now, well, you're going to, so plan for it now and charge accordingly. If someone had told me that earlier on, I would have shaved like 5 years off of my life. I mean, I would have been that much more successful, that much faster. So price like who you want to be, not like who you are today. And again, don't price lower because you don't have the overhead of the bigger guys. I screwed up on that many, many times. So I'm looking forward to climbing the ranks at the Huge and getting my name out there. I know I've got the ability to help others, and not just there, but just any event. I love speaking. It gets people fired up. It gets me fired up. It's been literally my determination that got me here, and now it's going to be my consistency that's going to take me to where I want to go. So, all right, guys, that's enough about me. I'm ready to get to our guests. Let me know in the comments if you guys are. Really excited to have them on. Let's figure out where the buttons are and get our guests coming on. Let's go. Welcome, Mr. Mike Dahlke. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well. Good to see you, Ryan.
Thanks for putting up with me, man. How you doing?
I'm excellent. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thankful for the opportunity to talk to you and your audience. And I didn't know that about the Huge, that you felt that way. Obviously, Jim's a good friend, and you're a good friend. And next year we'll make it so that you can go to his show.
That would be sweet, actually. Yeah. The thing is, you look through all the sessions and you're like, holy cow, like that was a really good lineup. So honestly, you could put me so I could go to his and then I'd be speaking during someone else's. So I don't want to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. I really am grateful. I was feeling like that C or D backup guy. And I was like, you know what a tremendous opportunity that I've got to be here. So I loved every minute of it.
Well, I'm glad. You're A+ in my book.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And Jim is really like, I need to just like copy and paste his model into the lighting world and we'll be good.
He's a genius. I mean, he's so relentless. What I really appreciate about Jim is his mindset for his market. And I think it'd be great for your people that are in their markets listening to your show, is total domination. Like there is no room for anyone else, in his mind. I'm going to call you. I'm going to email you. I'm going to be on the radio. I'm going to be on every door knocker. Like he's just out there to get every single customer. And I love that about him.
Yeah, it's true. In fact, he had in the program, he had 3 ads for his coaching in the huge program. I was like, look at
Yeah.
this guy. It's just like you said, like most people would do 0 or 1, and he's like everywhere in that thing.
hmm He's a special guy.
That's awesome. All right. So let's talk about you. You got your start. Actually, you didn't grow up wanting to be in the home service industry, did you?
No, not so much.
You got your start in financing?
Yeah, my start was a little bit different. I mean, I didn't really want to be in the financial world either. I grew up in a small town of 2,000 people where all you had to do for fun was drink in cornfields or play sports. So I didn't have this vision of being anything other than what the most successful people in my town were, which were contractors, really. And they built houses or they did different things. So my high school aptitude test said I should be a bricklayer.
Nice.
So I figured, that's probably where I was going to go. But my parents made me go to college. So I got a little bit bigger vision along the way. To your point about the 5 people that you want to surround yourself with, in my little town of Watoma, Wisconsin, the most successful person was extremely successful personally, but as far as business wise, there's only so far you can go in a town of 2,000 people. So it took me getting out of that town and getting into a bigger arena to realize what I was capable of, or what was even possible.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't realize you grew up in that small of a town. That even gives you even more perspective, because as we kind of unravel your story here, I think it's sometimes when you meet people who are like uh, a version of yourself you want to be, you're like, yeah, but they had this, or like, yeah, I mean that worked out. I mean they got lucky because of this, or you start making excuses. But really, when you pull it back, like a lot of the really successful people didn't have. I mean, luck was them having, preparation and opportunity meeting type thing. There was no luck involved. So that's cool. So you went out, you went to college, you were forced to go to college. What was your career path at that point?
Yeah, so I went to college with the expectation that I was never going to for anybody, which is very interesting because my business partner, who Michael Kaplan, went to law school with no intention of practicing law. So we both have very non-traditional paths. So my parents made me save 50 cents of every dollar I made since the time I started working at 8 until I was 18 to pay for college. I went to college. I think I got a 2.1 GPA. Apparently, you have to go to class to get good grades. I didn't think that was necessary, but I did what I could to get a degree, knowing that I was going to come out, start my own business. At that time, I thought I was going to do rain gutters or roofing because I had done that in the summers. No idea what life would be like. My senior year, I met a guy who was my mentor. He taught me about leadership. He taught me so much about business, and he was a Northwestern Mutual financial representative. And really, that was a financial slick way of saying that you sold life insurance and mutual funds and things like that. And I primarily just sold life insurance, but I followed him. Was an intern. Was very successful as an intern. Was less successful after my internship over time, but met a lot of really cool people who are in business that we would sell life insurance to. And all of my clients tended to be entrepreneurs, and all of them were having way more fun and way more interesting lives than I was. So eventually I left and went into business really for myself after about 6, 7 years. But I would not have gotten that opportunity had I not learned from a guy who was just amazing leader, just phenomenal. So then I became entrepreneur after that.
Nice. What was it about him that made him so good at leadership?
I would say I mean, the list is so strong. There's no one more positive that I've ever met in my life or with more energy. And that's unique to him. I'm not that guy. I'm not I'm more realistic. My energy levels are probably medium to high, but not, this guy would get every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. He was in the office and he had to drive an hour to get there. So he was leaving his house at 4:30 in the morning to get to the office. He'd work till 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I mean, he was just a machine. But he taught me so much about reading, listening. At that time, podcasts weren't as prevalent. And he would meet with me, and his commitment was, if as long as you're committed to me in the process, I'll be equally as committed to you. So the more I worked and the more I learned, the more he gave, and he kept giving and giving. And he'd go get, this $1,000 an hour coach, and then the next week he would be downloading everything he learned to me. So he challenged me. He was really hard on me at times. He was really good, and I'm so thankful to this day for him.
That's so cool. That's awesome. I mean, I think the thing that I just learned from that is like find a mentor. And sometimes people are like, well, how do I do that? What would you say to someone's like, well, how do I get a mentor? How do I get that guy?
Yeah, so I was lucky because he was the guy that recruited me and we had met. But along the way, I've had a lot of other mentors. Michael Kaplan, who's now my business partner, in a lot of ways was a very strong mentor to me. I had a window cleaning business, and I was at, when I bought the window cleaning business, it was about 60,000 in revenue. He had bought in a carpet cleaning company about 3 years before that was doing 600,000 in revenue. So he was 3 years and a couple $1 million ahead of me at all times. So we had met, and I had asked him if he wanted to go out for hamburgers and lunch. I would buy, and that became a every month to 2 month thing. We'd go out for Juicy Lucy hamburgers, and I would just say, hey, what's working well for you? What's not? And he would tell me, and he'd say, what's working well for you and what's not? And I would tell him. And grantedly, that was I got way more out of it than he did, I'm sure. But it was fun to talk business. And people who are entrepreneurial and successful, I think that they all really want to help. I've got a guy with me right now who brought his son, Brock's worked for me for a couple of years. And he brought his son. He's just out of college, and we want to help. So I think that it's really easy if you just make the ask, hey, can I take you out for a cup of coffee and get your advice? I think you'd be shocked how many people will say yes to that.
Yeah, that's great advice. I found it accidentally too, like in my lighting business. And what's cool is like similar to your story in the lighting world, like we're dealing with very high end people. They either are self-employed or high up execs, like they make a ton of money. So why would you not want to learn from them? And it's true, like when you ask them about themselves and like that actually helps you like land deals. It helps you all sorts of stuff because people naturally want to talk about themselves and how they did this and this. So people want to help, and I think most people just don't realize that you can ask. So yeah, just ask.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
So then, when you did decide, was that your first business that you decided to start on your own? Or
not so. Yeah, so I had a painting company in college, College Pro Painting franchise. So we did that, and then the first business we bought was a background check company, and we had it for about 18 months and sold it. I mean, disaster of a business. If you want to talk about all the dumb things you should do buying a business, we set the record on that one.
That's awesome.
It was.
What were some of the dumb things?
Well, the dumbest was they built their own software to do the background checks, which included credit checks. Well, you apparently need to keep like some layers of security when you have people's social security numbers. So we bought the business, and 2 weeks later, Equifax came in with a notice that they were shutting us down because we didn't have any security, which rightfully so. So we had to spend 2 weeks basically transitioning to a system that we had to buy and pay for, that basically made the entire business that we bought, the IP of it, worthless. All we had then were clients. So getting shut down 2 weeks after you buy a business with your life savings is a really wonderful deal. Then the Fair Credit Reporting Act came out. We didn't know anything about it. You had to have like locked file cabinets in everyone's office, even if they didn't have like paper files. And so we were buying file cabinets and shipping them all over the place. And it was just an absolute disaster. I can't think of one like smart thing we did in due diligence whatsoever to decide if we should buy that business. It was just like, oh, it makes money. Let's buy it. It'll be cool. We've gotten a little smarter since then.
Yeah, slow down and like you said, due diligence. I guess as you mature more, you have less shiny object syndrome. You probably have the syndrome. You're just better at dealing with it.
Yeah. I want to buy everything. I'm addicted to buying businesses and investing in people, and like I have no interest in all of the bass boats and jet skis and things like that. but I love buying businesses and buildings and stuff like that. So I'm just as dumb as far as like looking at opportunities, much more cynical that the person across the way has maybe different expectations of what a good business is, and that comes from getting burned. I mean, I've said this at the last AMP meeting. I've lost over $1 million twice, and both times were because somebody committed egregious acts of fraud, and I thought that they were being, a good, outstanding citizen. So start to question things a lot more now than I used to.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, one thing is good for you for being in a position where you can afford to lose $1 million. So,
I don't know if that's a good. I don't know if that's a good thing, right? I'll play this for my wife and see if she thinks,
yeah,
"Good job, Mike."
sticker, smiley
Yeah.
sticker. Good job for losing $1 million
Yeah.
twice, honey.
Yeah, great.
No,
You
that's
dig out
actually
of that hole.
terrible. So, I love that you and Mike were meeting and kind of challenging each other and helping each other and stuff like that. I know he ended up doing big things and having a nice exit on his carpet cleaning business. What happened with your window cleaning business?
Yeah, so the window cleaning business is still existed. It was Blue Skies, and then it became Blue Skies Bookkeeping and Recruiting and stuff like that that helped service. We had 5 different locations, so we built a hub that could service those 5 different locations. And since we've slowly sold off those locations, with the exception of one that we still have, so now it's more about the bookkeeping, the recruiting, the marketing business than it is about the actual window washing that we were doing. So we kept it for about 7 years after I left. There's still a core business there as far as window cleaning goes, and then there is the bookkeeping and other services as well.
Nice. So how did you have that mindset early on of like, I don't want to be an operator here. Like I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be an owner. Because most of us are like me. It's like we just start doing the thing, and then you're so trapped doing the thing. It's really hard to go from operating it to owning it. But it seemed like you were able to kind of navigate that a little bit better than most.
Yeah, I think if I'm being completely transparent, what it really was I was deathly afraid of being in a job, or being in a position where I was that operator. I was scared to death that I'd wake up 10 years later and I would still be doing 300,000 a window cleaning. I was just scared out of my mind. So I took risks that were outsized, because the risk of staying in the same spot and being the same size and doing the same thing scared me more than the first $80,000 media buy that I did on the radio. That was insane and stupid, but it was less risky than what I thought would be that I'd wake up someday and I would still be in the same spot. So I wanted to grow, and I wanted to transform, and I wanted to continuously grow. One of the things my mentor used to say that we talked about was, you're either green and growing or ripe and rotten. So I was doing everything I could to be green and growing, and I did everything I could not to be stagnant. So I think it was really, for me, fear of being in the same spot and having a job that I called a business scared the living daylights out of me and made me want to do things bigger.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it totally makes sense now that I'm like on the other side of it. I think back to like 15 years ago, and I didn't even I don't even know if that would have made sense, because I didn't know that I was signing up for a job. I didn't know that I was starting to have a job that I owned, yeah, it's a crazy perspective. I wonder why that is. Do you know why you had that fear?
Well, I think on the other side of the fear, what I most wanted was freedom. So freedom of time, money, relationships, things to do what I want when I wanted. And I kind of always was that way. I have a significant problem with authority, which is why I have a 2.1 GPA in college. Like, I didn't want to listen to the teacher who had never ran a business talk about, running a business when they never had to make a payroll. That drove me insane. It's a character flaw. I wish I would have said I can learn from everybody back then, but I just had a chip on my shoulder about it. So I wanted freedom. And I saw my dad, who I love to death, and I'm fortunate to have him. He worked as a road construction worker. And then when he got done being a road construction worker, we either went and cut firewood to sell for extra money, or we had a rain gutter business that we did. So he was working 90 hours a week all the time. And he had just put it in me that you need to own your own business, or you need to be in sales somewhere where you can create your own income. Otherwise, you're going to work just as hard as the next guy, and you're going to work twice as hard as the next guy and make the same amount of money. And so he just burned it into me that, shoot for freedom. And so I've never thought about making money in the traditional way, or business in the traditional way. I've always tried to look at it as a vehicle to stack up freedom so that I could do the things I wanted. So on the other side of that fear was this deep desire to have autonomy and control and things that I've had to work on over time. But I really wanted to get to a point of freedom.
Love that. Yeah, super motivating. So you were able to do that to a certain extent, I believe. At what point did you and Kaplan become partners and start doing more investing and things that you're doing now?
Yeah, so this is kind of a fun story. So the first deal we did was we did a deal in St. Louis together where we bought a maid service with a group. Blue Skies was involved in that. Kaplan was involved in that. And that wasn't as partners. He was an investor in a deal Blue Skies was doing. So fast forward a couple of years, this is probably 6 years ago now, maybe 7. We went to the International Window Cleaning Association convention. We were drinking Busch Light in the hot tub, trying to figure out what we were going to do with our lives. He was about to exit, and I was bored out of my mind. And after probably a 12-pack of Busch Light, we decided what could be a better use of time, money, and resources to invest in entrepreneurs. It satisfied the niche of trying to help people grow and feeling the same level of excitement when we had an employee raise through the ranks. We could do that with an entrepreneur. We realized there was a certain level of employees that we could be good stewards over, but if we invested in entrepreneurs, that scale would grow. And from a financial perspective, we looked at it as we won't risk any money we can afford to lose. So it'll be like we send the minions to work, these little capital pieces of dollars. And if they come back, great. And if they come back with friends, even better. So we said, hey, let's invest in entrepreneurs in the home services space. Only rules are no restaurants, no franchises in California. So first deal we did was in California. It wasn't a restaurant, but we did do it, and it turned out all right. But we started investing small sums and then bigger sums and then bigger sums into entrepreneurs that we felt would take really good care of their people and just needed a little capital to get unstuck.
That's so cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Busch Light in a hot tub. Don't knock it. You'll never know what'll happen.
I guess, yeah, everyone's got to try it once. The weird thing is, there was no Busch Light involved, but when I started my lighting business, it was the same thing. It was a hot tub conversation with my brother. He was window cleaning, and we were going to blow up the window cleaning space. And then he told me about these landscape lighting jobs, and we sat there in the hot tub and mapped out how we're going to make bazillion dollars a month doing lighting and all this other stuff. So I think the common denominator is definitely hot tubs and
hot tub for sure.
Yeah. Maybe, tub. Yeah. The Busch Light's kind of like a multiplier, because if we would have done the Busch Light, then I could have been at your level. So I'm still lacking stuff. I'm a slow learner.
Yeah. Well, we had no idea what it would become. It was a cute little project at the time. And we thought, well, we'll see what happens. And we even jokingly called it Poughkeepsie Partners, because Poughkeepsie is the city in New York where the insane asylum is. So we figured this idea probably would be something that would come out of there. So we went with Poughkeepsie Partners.
That is insane.
Literally and figuratively.
All right. So, I mean, I was going to ask you, I guess I still will, why home service industry? I know you guys got your start there, but there's still something that, now that you're a little bit further along, I'm sure you could pivot and find other industries, but what is it about it that is still attractive to you?
Yeah, so we have done other industries now, because home service has a kind of a top end scale to it by market. Whereas, we have a cabinet manufacturer that I'm at today that can go any market. We can send a cabinet, but you can only do work where your people are in home services. But what we liked about it was we knew it really, really well. We knew how to buy radio ads, which most people didn't. We knew how to do Google ads. We knew how to have marketing that worked. We also knew how to pay people And so we could look at somebody's P&L on the window cleaning space or the carpet cleaning space, and I could say, I bet you pay your people hourly. This is the type of program you're running. You're doing that, and you could see it from the P&L, or you say this person's paying commission and probably about 28%, and you would get it dialed in. So we knew the businesses so well that we could easily say, all right, you're doing $1 million. I can tell you how to get to 2 million pretty quick. And it took us a little while to get there. We started off just saying, hey, here's some money. And then we figured out, hey, if we say, here's some money and here's what we know, it was a lot different. So home services to us is still, we know it. We have capabilities in it. We have relationships in it. We own vendors in it, huge convention, Send Gym, those type of things. So we just know the space so well now that it's easier than if we were to try to get into aerospace engineering, which we know nothing about.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So you mentioned that you inject capital. Why do you think that most businesses run out of money? Why are they poor?
That's a great question. You may know better than me, but pricing would be the thing that I see most often. Is they're afraid to charge what they're really worth. The Mrs. Jones, oh, she's such a nice lady, and all that kind of stuff. Like I've heard it all. So I would say pricing is probably the number one thing, and then understanding their cycle of from marketing to when they do the job to when they get paid, and then the AR cycle, not understanding how scaling increases the amount of working capital you need in the business is probably the other one. But the one I see most often, Ryan, and you've probably seen it too, is they just don't price it high enough.
Yeah, for sure. That's like the number one for me that I see it. And it's the easiest one to fix too, because it doesn't cost any money. It's like free money waiting for them. The second one that comes to my mind is something that inspired by you said you'd go in and you know how to buy radio ads and do all this other stuff. I don't think most are investing in the right types of marketing and the right way. They'll try something once, maybe they'll try a radio ad or direct mail or something like that. Doesn't work like they want, so they pull out, or maybe they're too busy, so they're like, yeah, let's turn it off because we have so much work. And then all of a sudden they run out of them. And then it's like, well, yeah, we would love to turn on some ads, but we're out of money right now. We can't. So
yeah,
kind of both of
I've
those.
seen that too. Or they're buying trucks, the biggest, baddest trucks that you ever saw, trucks that make everybody jealous, but they don't have any money left over for marketing. We bought the cheapest, dirtiest, ugliest stuff. Like we had to jump cars in the morning sometimes because the batteries were dead. Like we were so cheap, but we plowed. At one point, it was like 24% of our revenue into marketing. We wanted to grow, so we were doing everything we could to keep that growth engine funded and full of gas.
Yeah, that's impressive. Unfortunately, I see, as much as I hate social media and Facebook, it's kind of like how I run my business. So I'm on there and I see a lot of people almost bragging about how like they don't have to do marketing and like word of mouth and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, oh man, that just like hurts to read and hear that stuff. So they're probably dying if they hear you say 24% of your revenue on marketing. I love it.
Yeah. We went from 60,000 to 5 million in, I think it was 6 years. It doesn't get there by word of mouth. You've got to make some purposeful investments and be willing to put your neck on the line for the growth.
Yeah. The risk thing is huge. I see that a lot in a lot of the things that you've done and a lot of things that you've said. Kind of the common denominator in my mind is like, man, you've been willing to take risks and you're willing to do that because of the fear of owning a job and some of these other fears. It's like, no, what can result out of it. And it's not just a close your eyes and hope it works. It's a calculated risk, but there's huge risk there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And the other thing is we're not risking what we can't afford to lose at this point. So, I mean, I've shared this before probably with you, but I went from 6 figures to $40,000 a year when I started my business. And we really never increased our lifestyle until we bought our new house. And then we had to, because our mortgage was significantly more, but we lived off of nothing for years and years and years and saved and saved and saved. And to this day, on all of our investments, I've only spent one distribution check, and that was to put a pool in the backyard. Other than that, every bit has been reinvested, risked. But when it's not money that goes to putting food on the table because you've taken care of that with, going out and putting lights in or getting to a certain level, that risk becomes easier and easier to take. So the guy who's listening right now, who's at 300,000 busting his butt, you shouldn't be thinking about, making crazy investments in other deals. You should be thinking about investing in how do you grow your business so you can get to 600 to 900, and then you can be in a position where you're not worried about food on the table. You're worried about food on the table for the 15 people that work for you. And that requires a different level of risk and skill set and growth.
I love that. That's such good advice, because it's easy to be like, well, yeah, Mike, of course you're not risking anything you're not willing to, go to zero with or whatever. But every business has that. Like, even if it's just
Mhm.
$1,000 right now, like you can come up with that if you're charging the right price and you're doing some of these other things, right. I remember the first time it happened to me, where it was like a big number, where I was like, okay, it was $20,000 I invested in this direct mail thing, this magazine, and literally it was like zero. Like, it was like the worst case scenario. I still today can't believe that it got us nothing, but we spent $20,000 and we got zero return. I'm sure
Mm,
somewhere we got branding, or like you could chalk it up to whatever, but I could afford to do that and still feed my family, pay my employees, invest in other marketing. Like, it was kind of it's not cool to lose $20,000 ever, but it was a refreshing moment to know, you know what, we're okay. Like, and
yep.
every decision, even before that, and that point on, was always like that. Like, if it doesn't work, if we get zero, are we okay? And if the
Yep.
answer is yes, it was like, that's the easiest decision ever.
Yeah. That's a really good way we talk about fatal flaws with our teams now all the time. And so we tell our CEOs at our businesses, you can make mistakes. We're not going to be mad about making mistakes as long as it was a calculated, purposeful decision. The only thing we're going to be mad about is a fatal flaw. And the number one fatal flaw is running out of cash. It's like oxygen. If you don't have it, you got a problem. So as long as you make calculated decisions, you can lose money, you can make dumb decisions. Like, just be calculated and purposeful and don't run out completely, because then you don't get to play anymore.
I can't remember where I heard this recently, but it was like, that's like the number one, uh, that's like your number one, what is it? Job, not your, yeah, it's like the number one thing of your job description as the owner, the CEO, is like, don't run out of money. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if if you do, like, you're fired. Like, that's like
Mhm.
the one thing that you can't do, is run out of money.
100% agree with that. And it's so easy to do. Business is hard. Like, there's so many decisions. Like, there's a lot at stake, and it takes a while to build up reserves. But man, it is so true. Just focus on, they say don't worry about the money, and I don't worry about the money, but I do worry about the freedom. And if I've got no money in the bank, I got no freedom. So there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're gonna give away some money real quick. Are you down with that? I mean, I'm gonna give
Yeah.
away some. All right.
Yeah, as long as it's yours.
Okay. Yeah, have access to Dahlke's bank account, you guys. We're gonna transfer the funds in just 30 seconds. Okay, so we're gonna play our game. It's called. Wait. Gift card giveaway. Yep, it's time to play gift card giveaway. All you got to be is the first person to answer this question correctly. And the only rule is it has to be the answer that I think is correct. It can be the correct answer on YouTube, Google, or whatever Mike Dahlke thinks, but it doesn't matter. This is my show, is my game. If I think the answer is correct, you win $50. We're just going to get you a gift card. It's that easy. So here's the question. In lighting, many of the lamps have numbers at the end of their name. For example, PAR 36, MR 16, MR 8. What does the number portion describe? And if you know the answer, I don't know, Mike. I mean, you're involved in a lot of different businesses. You've got electrical, so don't
Yeah,
say
we've
the
got a
answer.
lighting business. We've got a
Yeah.
lighting business.
So you might know this. I don't know. All right. So if you're here live and you're a lighting nerd, in lighting, many of the lamps have numbers at the end of their name. PAR 36, MR 16, MR 8. What does the number portion describe? I see we got Brian Dank on. He's probably going to get it right. He's won the most all time of all the gift card giveaways. So let's see what we got. Brian is answering. I'm not sure. Let's see. So we got Brian's answer, the diameter of the lamp, which is true, but I'm not saying if he's first or second or third. Someone else says 1/8 of an inch. Brian Grote says 16/8, 2-inch diameter, 1/8 of an inch. So the winner is Brian Grote, 1/8 of an inch. And you know, I'm assuming he's implying diameter and stuff like that. So he was the first one. Sorry, Brian, you were just behind. Or no, Brian Grote wins. Sorry, Brian Dank. You were just probably seconds too late. So yeah, I thought I remember learning that years ago. It's like, who invented this 1/8 of an inch thing? But somebody did. All right, thanks for playing, guys. Congratulations on winning, Brian. We will hook you up, Brian Grote. Sorry, Brian Dank. Yep, he was the first one, at least on here. Again, some people try to argue and they're like, but look on Facebook, it shows here that I did it first. I'm like, dude, I don't know, the software I use, this is what it is. So we like giving money away. Thanks for playing, you guys. Appreciate your support. Okay, so let's jump back into this. I want to ask you about some of the companies you've invested in and kind of what that process is like. When you come in to do these turnarounds, what are some of the common denominators that you see them struggling with? Is it just that they don't have money, or is it strategy? Is it structure? Like, what are some of these common things that hopefully some of us can learn to avoid after hearing this?
Yeah, so the first thing we look for is an internal or external problem. So if it's external, like if you're in the yellow book, you know, if you're selling yellow page ads, we can't help you, right? That thing's dead. It's dying. We're sorry, but we're just not that's not a turnaround. It's a death of a market. What we're looking for is a large, one-time solvable problem that capital and strategy can solve, and it's usually because of bad management. The amount of stuff that I've seen that it would make your listeners' head spin that people have done is pretty wonderful. I should write a book. It's lots of special stuff. So large solvable problem, capital strategies, maybe some relationships can solve, and then we'll come in and we'll input those things. But we don't get into stuff without seeing the right answer. So as far as what to avoid, it's usually some sort of moonshot that puts people in there. They're at 200,000 and somehow they get some money or they get some credit and they just overextend to the max. And they don't do it with the understanding of how that capital is going to get paid back. So we saw it at the technology company we were at. We saw it with our cabinet company. We saw it with the electric company. They just got overextended trying to take a huge shot that they didn't test or understand first. So if I was saying, what are we looking for? We're not really looking for, but those are the things that come. And if I was someone who's listening to your show, Ryan, I would say be very purposeful when you take a massive risk. Maybe start with a small risk and make sure that you're calibrated right, and then do a large deal, especially if it's on credit. So that would be what I would say.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because I haven't peeked behind the scenes as far as you guys have into businesses, but I talk to a lot of business owners every week, and I see a similar trend. And it's interesting. I think they hear people like you and like, yeah, go big, go home, like take risk, whatever. And it's like, no, but that's not what we're talking about here. It's take a small risk, get some, now you have Vegas money. You won with that marketing. Now you've got money that didn't exist. Now reinvest a portion of that back in and keep some. And if you do it like that, eventually you have 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. Then you have all this money that you can afford to lose. Like me, when I lost $20,000, if I didn't have, 150,000 in the bank, that would have been detrimental to us, but it didn't kill us because we had other good things happening for us. That was just one bad decision.
Yeah. Or said a different way. If you are thinking about testing radio ads, or maybe it's Valpak flyers or whatever, don't go buy 50,000 worth, go buy 5,000 worth and test it with the small number. Test it with something that you can see results with. And if it works, then add to it a ton. But don't rush in with the big number that you can't afford to lose. Start small and go in. Or another one that I've seen is a new product line that you are. Here's one of the big mistakes I made, Ryan. I thought window cleaning customers would buy maid service. And so we started buying maid services when we had our window cleaning business. Well, this is the easiest thing in the world, right? We've got 5,000 customers. They'll buy maid service, and then we'll have reoccurring revenue, and we won't be broke in the winter. It's going to be awesome. Nobody bought. Like, not nobody, but such a small percentage bought. It's a different decision to have somebody who you're going to spend $250 a month come into your house every 2 weeks than it is to buy a $250 window cleaning one time on the outside of your house. Completely different decision making. It was a disastrous decision for us. It took us a long time to figure out and learn, but I still see that a lot where somebody says, you know what, I'm going to get into this new service because it's hot. And they go all in with all of their capital, all of their relationships, and then they realize it wasn't as good as I thought it was. So maybe if we would have tested maid service, we tried it with 200 customers and 3 bought. That's not enough. This is not a good decision. If we would have tested going into other services, we might have said, yeah, that one works and that one doesn't, versus just saying, I'm going all in without any research and development on if this is a good decision.
Yeah, great advice. Yeah, I think most of the time, yeah, you think about how many people have done like an actual test to see if something's going to work. Like, very rarely does that happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, but that's why we get calls. I thought that everyone would buy this. Oh man, I'm sorry that they didn't. So a test, I think is great by choice. They talk about shooting bullets and then cannonballs.
Yep.
Shoot a bunch of bullets until you hit the bullseye. And once you hit the bullseye a couple times, then throw that cannonball with all the weight behind it. But get that gun calibrated exactly where you need it to go before you start shooting off this massive amount of resources towards it.
Love that. Yeah, I see a lot of people. I think it's a combination of shiny object and boredom and frustration because they're not getting done what they want. Maybe let's just talk about that for a minute. Like, I've got a lighting business. It's like, I know I could be doing more, but I feel like I don't know how. So now I'm just going to add on something else, or I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to go into another market. I'll go to this city. My friend lives over there and we'll expand. I hear a lot of people like, oh, yeah, I want to expand into multiple markets. And I'm like, dude, your business is not ready to expand. But how could someone know? Should I go into a second market, or should I add another service, or should I maybe I'm not even like a 1/10 of the way there with my main offering.
Yeah. So not to say this is right, but I'll tell you what we did. Warren Buffett's got a quote that you should have when he makes investment. He thinks he's got a punch card and he only gets to make 20 investments. He only's got 20 punches on that card. So the investments he makes got to be really good. So we took a similar approach to say, we're going to constrain the amount of new services we'll offer to 1 a year. We're only going to offer 1 new thing a year. And because we did that, we had to decide, was that screen cleaning? Was that gutter cleaning? Was that roof cleaning? Was that landscape lighting? Was that epoxy flooring? And we actually had to analyze what was the best decision for us because we could only do 1 a year. If I did 3, it was, man, what a disaster. I did that 1 year and it was a disaster. We didn't really focus on any of them and we didn't get anywhere. So on the new products and services, I would tell your listeners to grow their landscape lighting business as big as they can get it. And then think about maybe 1 a year or 1 every 3 years. Just make it so constrained that you really have to think about it. On new markets, we didn't go to any new markets in any of our current businesses until we've tried every bit of marketing and sales in our current market that we possibly can and have maxed out our investment in all of them. So once we knew, we could afford to do $87 a job for our window cleaning business, we tried Google, Facebook, Angie's List, Valpak, Money Mailer, every radio station, everything we could possibly come up with to get a job for less than $87. And once we were out of it, then we said, okay, now we've maxed out our marketing capacity in this market, and now we'll look at other markets. We have employees, we have infrastructure, those type of things. But it is so expensive to go to a new market. It is so much less expensive to focus on your current clients, having them buy more, or focusing on your market and trying new marketing methods. So that would be my advice. Max out your current marketing in your current market, and then add one service every 1 to 3 years. And I think you'd be in a really happy spot. Then you got to deal with the boredom issue, but that's a different conversation.
No, that's great advice, though. I think what happens as you were talking, I think people it's the low hanging fruit. They figure out how to do the low hanging fruit in their market, and then they don't know what else to do. They don't know what else, the strategy, what the structure behind it. So then like, well, I'll just go into this new market and do the low hanging fruit, and that dries up very quickly. So I love that you said just like just go narrow and just like keep hitting as many things as you can in that market, and really kind of prove that there's nothing else that you can do to saturate that market. Then you're ready to go on to the next one.
Yep, agreed.
And when I think about landscape lighting specifically, I mean, there's less than 5 that I know of in the US that would be ready to go to a new market, just based on those principles for sure.
Sure.
Even in my, I look at my last business in Dallas, like we could have done, I was always like, yeah, then we're going to go to Houston, and then we're going to go to Austin, and we're going to do all these things. It's like, no, like we still could have like done way more in the market we were at, talking about our existing clients and upselling to more projects and getting referrals and all that stuff, and marketing too. It's not like we had tested every single vertical in marketing as well.
Yep, agreed. Oh, we were similar.
That's awesome. So, all right. So now, I guess as we kind of wrap up, what's attractive to you to a business? Would you rather someone that's like clunky and broken, and you're like, oh, cool, I know how to fix it? Or do you want someone that's like somewhat put together? Like, if I'm a business that's like, I want to partner with Mike one day, or I want them to come buy me out, and like we're going to take over the world together. What types of things should I be working on?
The short answer is your character and your own personal development as a business leader. We really like playing in the sandbox with really good people. And so we've done deals that most people would say are horrible and stupid because it was a broken, dirty, ugly business. And we've done stuff that was completely buttoned up and awesome. But it really depends on the person across the table. If it's Ryan Lee, I'm in every time. If it's other people that don't have your character and aren't trying to grow and develop, probably not for us. And we're not interested in any deals with W-2 employees that want to be in the entrepreneur space. Like, we believe entrepreneurship is a life sentence. Once you do it, you're just never getting out of it, right?
That's so true.
You are it. That's what you are. Like, going and working. How unemployable is Ryan Lee today? Like, extremely, because you won't listen to anybody that tells you do this stupid thing. You're going to say, no, I can do it better. So we just really like good people sitting across the table that we can have a dinner with, or sit by a campfire and talk shop with. That's the type of people we're looking to do business with, not necessarily a size or type of business. That's secondary to someone who really wants to grow, really wants to be a good steward of their people and their business, and just really fun to be with. We've joked, if we can't see ourselves spending all day trapped on a boat with you in the middle of a lake, we're just not going to do business with you. That wouldn't be any fun.
That's awesome. It's such a good way to pre-qualify people. Like, we don't even care about how good or bad the business is or how good of a deal this is, but if we can't spend a day on the boat with you trapped on a lake,
we're just not going to do it.
Great advice. I love it. All right. Well, that's pretty much it, man. Anything you want to leave our listeners with? Any bit of advice on, the famous Dahlke saying? Is there a famous Dahlke saying? Like, anything like that?
There's a lot, but they're not saying. So, like, if I say, help me understand, that means that, like, the hammer's coming. You're really, you better watch it. So there's a whole bunch of them that Gabe and a lot of the guys would say, oh, when Dahlke starts to say this, watch out. But what I would say, the thing that I understand that I'm further along than probably a lot of the people that are listening to the show, but I was in that spot. We grew from 60,000 to where we are today. We didn't have any silver spoons. My dad was a road construction worker. My mom babysat for extra money. What I would say is it was really hard. I broke down crying at least twice a year for the last 15 years because it got really hard. But at the end of the day, it is so worth it. Do not give up on it. My wife would say it was horrible for the first 7 years, and the last, 15 have been just amazing. So she would tell you it's worth it. So if you can keep pushing and get to the other side of it, it is totally worth getting to a couple $1 million of revenue. It is worth it 100%. Just do it and keep trying to grow as a person.
Love it, man. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you. You're a class act. I know you inspired a lot of people today. You inspired me. You come across as just a normal dude, which I love because you're not normal and you've got some amazing superpowers, but you're very relatable, and just appreciate you coming on here, man.
I am a normal dude. So other than maybe my fascination with hunting and country music, outside of that, I'm pretty normal.
All right, man. We'll take it easy. You guys have a great week, and this is going to be a good one. Listen to it again. Take Mike's advice. It's worth it. Keep moving forward.